this is Rebecca from Pt3 and welcome to my studio. I thought I would come up and do a really quick update from the paper making that we did like 3 days ago, and just show you the piece of paper that I did as a sample. It's completely dry. It was actually dry yesterday, but I let it set overnight just a little bit longer to make sure. You can see that it's quite a bit lighter than it was when I first pulled it out of the water. There's a couple of things that I'll point out here in this. The first of all, the thing that I remembered once I got going with it was that hydrangeas tend to lose their color in water and alcohol. I had tried doing some blue in alcohol when I was doing my alcohol ink experiment, and they had no color, just turned brown. The water was just like a very light shade, very similar to this right here, but very translucent. I'll have to mix that with something else to actually use it. So I'm glad that I did put the blue in. The blue matches very well the color that that they were to begin with. So the purpose of this video was not just to show you this and how it turned out, but also to let you know that I'm going to do 2 more sample pieces of paper. One with just paper, no flowers, to show you how that works and how that turns out, and then also to do one with just paper but with flowers sprinkled on the top and then pressed as opposed to in the water. But what I wanted to show you was, one, how thin it is, and you can tell by how things are arranged. This is the very piece of paper that I made in that in the sample video, or in the video. So it's very thin, so that's what you get. I had a person ask about folding, if it would crack or tear, and I do want to do an experiment with that, but I want to wait until it's all dry, so that will also be part of the video coming up. The one thing that I do know is I have used my paper punches and created tags. I don't have them anymore, but I gave them to my daughter, but I had the punches that do the full tag, and I have used those before. The one thing that I would use papers like this for is more of a background for something else. I think I've mentioned this before, that I had an older lady who was buying my paper to make her own homemade stationery from. So, and she bought all the colorful stuff that I had, and then I had a man who bought paper from me to use for his watercolor paint. He used them as a background. So there's lots of things that can be done with these papers, besides use them in journals in the traditional way of just a single piece of paper. You can, like I said, make tags from them or cards, use them as backgrounds. I have a plan actually for this to do a project with when I do the next video. But the other thing I want to do is, because I have paper drying, what I ended up was doing an 8x10. I did 4 more 5x7s, and then I did some 4.5 by 4.5. So what I need to change out my placemat, so I was going to let the camera go while I do that process, just so that you can see it, and then I'll be back in a couple of weeks with the papers dried and a project, and doing another round of paper making to show you a couple of other different ways of doing it. I will move all this. I'll be right back. Now I know this whole 16-inch tile is not going to be in the frame, but this is more about showing you my layering process with the real thing as opposed to kind of pretending. So this is just how I do it. And because I have 3 different sizes of paper going, I have it layered. They're separated, and you'll see what I mean. If I was doing all one size, I would have everything layered with all of the tiles on the top. But because I have different sizes, I have the tiles separated a little bit. So I move them 2 at a time because they're not light. And so on the very top here, I have 3 sets of 2. And then I'm going to open my dryer, because as I've said, I do this on top of my dryer, and I just throw the placemats in the dryer. Now, these are my 4.5 sheets, and these are almost dry. You can see they're sticking a little bit to the placemat because they've been pressed that flat. So this is them. I wouldn't leave them out now though. They're still just, even though they feel dry to the touch, I can tell that they got some dampness in them, and if I left them out like overnight to dry, they would, 1, absorb moisture from the air, and 2, they would be warped in the morning even if they were dry. So I'm going to let them go another like 24 hours at least before I but you can see they're, there's slight dampness, but not that much. So I'm going to move those to the side. And then I have this waterproof placemat. And then I have these 3 narrow ones. And when you get placemats, depending on the kind, like these have this big hem. So when you put your the waterproof or this foam rubber type placemat down, or the tiles, they're going to sit up here on this level as opposed to where your paper is on this level. So I have these, they're homemade. I found them at the thrift store. There's just 3 of them. I put them in the middle to help flatten it out, all the way across so everything sits level. So there's nothing between these 3. And then here is the other 5x7s that I made. And like I explained, I start with my bigger size and go down. So these, I would call these dry, but I will put them back under one more night. And then here's the other. I actually made an extra one to do the experiment with later when I do the other one. I think it's this one. So at any rate though, here's the 5x7s, and they are as dry as the first one I showed you. So yeah, so there's that. And then we come to the next one, the next set. And this is 8x10. Now these are still moist, you can feel the dampness here. Now what I do here is I move, and usually what I do is I move everything to one side and then layer it back up, but I wanted to show you. But these I am going to move to one side and layer these back up and just show you the process. So I get me a whole new set of placemats, and then I just put them down and go through the layer, throw one in the dryer, and lay another one on top. Now these, their hem is very almost the same as the inside. It has a lining inside, so I don't have to worry so much about building up a layer in the middle. But these did turn out very well. Where I was going a few minutes ago with what I was saying, the hydrangeas lost their color, but you can tell that the paper, you saw the paper in the blender, it was white and cream, but this paper is a very pale blue, and it was actually blue before I added these bits of blue paper. So what this blue is in the background is actually you can see that one's already starting to warp a little bit. It is actually the color from the hydrangeas that have colored the paper this very pale blue. So I'm actually happy with that. So this is just what I do and how I do it. And I just put everything, and underneath right here I can feel the edge, so I keep everything lined up as best I can so that all the paper is even underneath, and then I don't have to worry about one being kind of, offset from the other one. And whenever I find 6 placemats, that's perfect, because I put one on the bottom and one on the top, and then I have just enough to sandwich all the layers of paper through. Okay, so there's that one, and I'm going to put this back on and just kind of center it over that paper. Then I'll put this back on, and for this one I'll be using this paper and placemat rather, and you can see this one, there's just enough moisture in it for it to just starting to warp slightly, so that's why I want to let them go one more night or another like 24-ish hours. And these put just this way. And on this one, I'll put both of them. Then I'll have some papers that are not papers, I don't know why I keep saying papers. I have some placemats that I use for the little papers, and then some I use for the big ones, and this one. Yeah, it's going to work. So I'm going to do 2 of these. And I always try to smooth it, because the paper, especially when it's wet, the first and second day after it's made, it will pick up any wrinkles or anything. So you want whatever you put it on to be as smooth and flat as possible. So then I just start my layer process again. And there we go. That's it. So, thank you very much for watching, and I will see you in a couple of weeks with a project and more paper making. Thanks for watching.